Pristakam Yat Padasmriti Matrena Dhamodara Prasiddhati. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaudatishe Namaha Nityananda Namastubhyang Premananda Pradayane Kalo Kalmasanasaya Janabapate Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dhinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So first of all, I offer my obeisances countless times unto my most worshipful Guru Pada Padma Param Aradhita Mastotar Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev. Likewise unto the entire Rupanuga Guru Varga and all assembled devotees. Please accept my Dandavat Pranams. So, here we all are, having passed another wonderful year in Sri Radha Kunj, and we are continuing forward. So, as requested by the Vaishnavas, I will endeavor to speak a little bit about Srila Gurudev's teachings on a few different subjects, but we can't avoid the fact that today is Christmas. So, Srila Gurudev would also speak about this day on, especially we see he spoke in, I think it was in Hawaii, where Gurudev spoke about Christmas and how we should perform our sadhana bhakti, our spiritual practice, on such occasions. Generally, festivals like this are a chance for us to reaffirm our spiritual convictions, to judge how we have progressed in our lives, what we have done that we could do much better, how we can become more serious, how can we advance better. So we should try to consider this on days like such. So, in order to follow spiritual life, there's one very important principle. In the path of Bhakti Yoga especially, we're in this path of Bhakti Yoga. But really, this is a Sanskrit term, Bhakti Yoga, right? But actually Bhakti Yoga is universal to all faiths, if to the degree that they are properly worshipping God with love. Bhakti Yoga is not a sectarian concept. That to the degree that someone is worshipping God with love in any faith properly, then this devotion of the soul to God, that is bhakti. Devotion to the soul and offering of the soul to God, that is bhakti. And the soul may, when we're in different human, like we are born in different places, and so Prabhuji also describes in Guru Darshan, when we're born in different places, then we are brought up in different cultures and we are taught different things. But we see that spirituality or religion or devotion to God, service to God is common in all places in some form or another. And this is Krishna's mercy. Krishna arranges so that according to the people's adhikar, their qualification in their faith, then he appears before them. It is said, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adasam dharmasya taratmanam shrujamyaham. So Krishna appears in many incarnations and he empowers many people also, Shaktavesh avatar. One kind of incarnation of the Lord is Shaktavesh avatar. It means someone who is like still a Jiva Tattva, they are empowered with God's power, Shakti, and then they can take up the role of establishing proper dharma in society. But if we really want to follow these dharmas, so many preachers, many great teachers establish different dharmas. But are we able to follow the real essence of that in our lives? And what do we need to do to be able to follow the real essence of these dharmas and in order to get the proper result? Like we can see, there's many faiths in the world. Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, all these different faiths. But how much are people following the true essence of these faiths? And how much are they caught up in the external superficiality? If we're not following the true essence, we can easily get caught up in the external things, and then we can be cheated of the real result. Like we see many demons in India consider themselves to be dharmic. I am religious. Even Ravin, even great demons, they think I am so religious. Why? In the Bhagavad Gita it says, Ishvaraham aham bhogi siddhoham bhalavan sukhi, that I am perfect, powerful and happy. I will do sacrifices, I will do yagyas, and I will give charity, and I will be religious, and I will be happy and enjoying in this world. But the Purushabhiman, this material mentality of trying to enjoy everyone like God, has not left us. So this is not dharma. If we really want to follow dharma, then we have to follow some specific steps, wherever we may appear. Otherwise, in the name of worshipping God, we only cause harm to others. That Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings in his Shikshastakam bhajans, that Dhanya dhoya anye man pratishta varjan chari guni guni hao koroho kirtan. That if you want to do kirtan, if you want to serve, kirtan really means service to God. Praising the Lord, glorifying the Lord, and giving one's life in service to the Lord. If you want to do that kirtan, then you have to have these qualities. Dhanya doya anye man pratishta varjan. That you should have this quality of humility and respecting others, not desiring respect, serving others. It said, Trina dika dina hina pratishta, that you should be more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, and you should never cause harm to other living entities. You should only cause their auspiciousness. Right? So, how can we develop these spiritual qualities? If we want to develop these spiritual qualities, first, in any religious faith, but especially in this Gaudiya Vaishnavism, especially in Bhakti Dharma, because also Gurudev said, most of these other faiths, what is generally followed, even in Hinduism we see, the generally followed observance is materially motivated. This is under Dharma, Artha, Kam and Moksha. Material religiosity for sense gratification, for economic prosperity. This is all selfishly motivated. So that's not real bhakti. Whatever faith we may be in, that's not proper bhakti. That's not proper service to God. That's why the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam states, Dharma projita kaitavatra paramo nirmat saranang satam, that giving up all false kinds of faith. So Gurudev said, we see most faiths in this world, Gurudev said specifically, they are not really pure religions, because they're only thinking, how can we get like a brotherhood of man on this world? Why do we want brotherhood of man? They say brotherhood of man because men are always tending to fight for property, for wealth, for position, for women even. Men are always competing with one another for these things. And so Gurudev said, they make, in the name of religion, real religion means love thy God with all thy heart and love thy brother man. But if you don't love God and if you don't serve God, then it's not possible to love each other also. First you have to, it said, first physician heal thyself. First, develop this love within yourself, and then you can help others. But the point is that all these, the real essence of these dharmas is always develop love for God and serve God. But then people preach these other things, and because it's easier to preach these things. Because people naturally want to have mundane or material development, they want prosperity, economic development, they want sense enjoyment. So these things are very easily distributed and populated. Very easily people can be sold this. It's an easier, recipe to sell. But it's more difficult for people to follow one-pointed devotion and surrender to God. So mostly I wanted to talk about this, about what is real Sharanagati. If we really want to follow Dharma or Sanatan Dharma, which is Savai Pungsam Bharu Dharma Yato Bhakti Radoksaje Ahaitukiya Pratyata Yatma Suprasiditi. If we want to be happy also, Yatma Suprasiditi, if we want to be fulfilled and satisfied, we have to follow this Paro Dharma. This is for all mankind. This is not for Hindus or only for Hindus, not for Christians, not for Muslims, not for Jews. This is for everyone. Savai Pungsam Paro Dharma, for everyone. Savai Pungsam means for all humankind. Paro Dharma. But if we want to follow that Paro Dharma, then there's a wall, a gateway we have to cross through. There's a wall and then there's a gate. And we have to cross through that gate and we have to get admittance. Like we heard the other day, without Yoga Maya giving us admittance into Braja Bhakti, we cannot enter. So what is that gateway that we have to cross through? That is Sharanagati. So what is Sharanagati? Sharanagati means to surrender. So what do most people think about surrendering? Like, for example, in the Bhagavad Gita. So when the topic of surrender comes, most people think, to give up. Like, oh, I'm defeated, to raise your arms, I surrender. To give up the fight, that means to surrender. But this is a material understanding, and it is, on one hand, we need to materially surrender, like we see. Proper material surrender means Draupadi. Draupadi was trying to protect herself, hold on to her own cloth, and looking at her husbands and looking at her elders to protect her. But then she finally surrendered. Hey Govinda, Rako Sharanang Abda Jivana Hare. Oh Govinda, I surrender you to please protect me. That is one kind of surrender. But also the Vaishnavas don't support that surrender so much. It's better than not surrendering. It's better than holding on by your own strength to yourself. But really, Prabhupada tells the story that when Arjuna went to the forest, Krishna said, bring me some water. And he went to a sage's ashram. And the sage was sharpening a sword and sharpening an arrowhead. And Arjuna was like, why are you doing this? And then he said, oh, if I ever find that Arjuna, I will shoot him. And if I ever find that Draupadi, I will kill her with my sword. And Arjuna sat down like all the blood drained out of his body. How is that possible? How are you a sadhu? Why are you saying like this? And Krishna came because Krishna wanted to give this lesson through this story to his sage. So then the sage said, why? Krishna asked, why do you want to do this? He said, oh, we are born naked. This is also like a Katyani Vrat story. Why are we so attached to our external coverings? The cloth is one kind of covering. We have this external cloth, that's one covering. But that's a very external covering. After that, there's the subtle body and the gross body. And this subtle and gross body also will change. Just like we change our clothes when they get old and worn out. Similarly, when our body gets old and worn out, we'll have to change the body. So why are we so attached to this body? You're born naked, you will go naked. This is actually born of abhiman, pride, ahankar, false ego. You know, I will be shamed, I will be humiliated. And so I will ask God to protect me, to cover me. Although this is still like one kind of bhakti, but it's not completely pure. There's still some anyabhilas. And it's said even if the devotees sometimes pray like this in difficulties, it's not considered a fault. It's not anyabhilasita, but it is anyabhilas. It is not pure. Why? We are still worried about ourselves, thinking about ourselves. We're not fully surrendered. See, she's saying, oh, I surrender to you, Hari, please cover me, please protect me. And the gopis also wanted to do this at first. That, oh, I will cover myself. Krishna said, come before me, put your hands up and surrender. Naked before me. What does it mean to be naked before God? Like, we are not trying to cover ourselves. We're not trying to hide any longer. We're not trying to hide our anarthas, hide our bad desires. We're naked before God, meaning that is full surrender. And the gopis then finally they came and they surrendered before Krishna, and then he gave them this cloth, and that was transcendental. That was the way to transcend Maya. How do we transcend Maya? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Dhaivyesha gunamayi mama maya dhuratya manmeva prapadyante maya metam taranti te. That my energy, my Maya, is so powerful. Even though the jiva is like a higher tattva. The jiva is apariyamitasthanyam prakritim vinime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yaidam dharyate jagat. The jiva is chit, it is spiritual, it is divine consciousness. This part of this, the soul that we are, that is a spark of divine consciousness that is coming from Krishna, or from that Chit Surya, the divine sun of pure consciousness. So we are part of that, and Maya is inert, matter. But Maya is so vast and we are so small, when we are separated from the fire like a tiny spark, the spark will also go dull. It's also described that we are like a spark from the great fire. But when we are leaving the fire, then we become dull. So we can become covered. Dull means covered by Maya, covered by darkness. So Maya is very powerful. Maya metam dharantite. How to cross over Maya? Krishna says, Mameva ye prapadyante. Surrender unto me, then you can cross over Maya. That's the real way to cross over Maya. This is Krishna's teaching. So that's Sharanagati. What else is the Sharanagati verse in the Gita that everybody knows? Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanang braja ahang tang sarva papebhyo mokshe shami ma suchaha. That give up all these other kinds of dharmas, and Raghunath Das Goswami clarifies more deeply that na dharmam na adharamam shrutigana niruktam kila kuru. That give up all attachment to following the Shrutis, the Vedas, or to not following to what is mundane morality, what is immorality. Like people say, oh, the gopis, they are vyabhichari dusta, they are acting immorally, and Krishna is also acting immorally to dance with other men's wives. But Krishna says, sarva dharman prityaja, give up all these conceptions, because this is an obstacle. You need these on the basic level. When you enter school, you learn ABC and you learn basic math, arithmetic. And you need to know that. But when you go to higher math, then sometimes it will be against the basic earlier principles. Like we see this in physics. Newtonian physics do not agree with other kinds of physics. And so on a basic level, you need to learn these basic things, but then there's a higher level and a higher understanding. So real Sharanagati, what does it really mean to be Sarva dharman prityaja mam ekam sharanang braja? Only to me, ekam, to me alone, sharanang braja, surrender. So what does it mean to surrender? Was Draupadi's surrender the perfect example of surrender? That she held up her hand and surrendered? Is that the perfect example of surrender that we should try to follow? We have to consider these things. So what are the 6 limbs of surrender? Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshisyatiti vishvasa gopitve varnang tata atmanikshepa karapanyasat anga sharanagati. There are 6 limbs of sharanagati, surrender. The first, anukulyasya sankalpa, taking a vow to follow what is favorable for my seva, favorable for my dharma. And then there's many categories of this. We have to learn these things. What is favorable? And then anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam, give up what is unfavorable. So first try to follow these 2 things. So the problem with the general idea of surrender is that people think it means some kind of weakness. Oh, I give up, I surrender. But that's not spiritual surrender. Spiritual surrender isn't any kind of weakness. On one hand, without God's grace, or without the goddess's grace, without Shakti's grace, we can't surrender. So it's not by our own power. Daiviyesha mama, like we heard that verse. By our own power, we cannot cross over Maya. Only by surrendering to Krishna, then we can get that strength to be able to pass over Maya. So the first step is surrendering to Krishna on a basic level. Then you get divine spiritual willpower. And we'll talk about like how do we get this spiritual willpower, this backbone. That is through Guru Seva, through service to Guru. And then we have to come to Guru. Guru Padashray, that's the first step in the path of bhakti. Guru Padashray. Also, how do we get this willpower? Guru Padashray is there, but also one very important thing is what do you do when you follow Guru Padashray? When you first surrender to Guru in the Vedic culture, if someone comes to Guru, then they stay in Guru's ashram and they follow Guru's teachings. If they're not in the ashram directly, then they follow from home. But what you're supposed to do, it said, like, what is one of the main principles of like dharma? Or like even you can look at the Yoga Sutras, like Patanjali. What does he teach? One of the most important principles if you want to advance spiritually is Brahmacharya. What is Brahmacharya? Brahmacharya means Brahma Acharati Ati Brahmacharya. That person is always absorbed in God and in God's service, and whose body has become a wandering place for God, meaning Brahma Acharan Bhumi. This body, which is normally a field of karma, material activities, becomes a land of seva and bhakti, devotion. And then it becomes a temple for God. Then it becomes a temple through which we can serve God, and God also, what is a temple meaning? If it's a temple of God, it means God lives in the temple. God resides there in the temple. So when we put on tilak, all these parts of our body are being offered in service to Krishna. Our body is being offered in service. That's why we clean ourselves nicely. That's why we bathe and try to appear ready and suitable for Krishna's service. Then our body is a temple. And why Brahmacharya? Because through Brahmacharya also means generally people think, oh, celibacy. And this is true because God's energy comes into us through this like Shakti. Shakti means also Virya, Ojas, spiritual energy which comes through celibacy, through tolerating this sense urges. And as much as we can tolerate that, then we develop spiritual willpower. We see that it is said in Sastra that a brahmachari who is real brahmachari, not external, like really a brahmachari, they can move mountains by their power. It's not like they develop such a powerful willpower that, what does it mean to move a mountain? You have so much charisma, so much shakti, so much control and command of yourself that, oh, you can inspire so many others. That's why it said that, oh, what does Rupa Goswami teach in the first verse of Upadeshamrita? Vacha vegam, manasakroda vegam, jiva vegam, udara upasta vegam, etan vedgan, yo vishahetadira, sarvam, abhimam pridivim sashishya. That is brahmacharya. It's not only one sense urge. All these 6 ones. Vacha vegam, the urge to speak according to like so much prajalpa. Vacha vegam, manasa vega, the urges of the mind. Krodha vega, anger, lust, greed, the stomach, the belly, the genitals. All these are vegas. And we have to learn to control these, to properly control these through tapa, through austerity. That is brahmacharya. And then as much as we are able to become brahmacharis like that, brahmacharya doesn't mean you're wearing saffron or you're not wearing saffron. This is like helpful. This is like vesh. Vesh, avesh, samavesh. When you have the proper vesh, attire, then you can enter the proper environment, samavesh, and then you can become absorbed, avesh. But even without that, we see so many devotees in Grihastha ashram, and it said real Grihastha is also perfect brahmachari. They're like following perfect dharma, they're remaining in a religious life, like the husband and the wife serve each other. But Gorakshadass Babaji Maharaj said, when someone brought his new wife to Gorakshadass Babaji Maharaj, he said, you're so fortunate, you have this now Krishna Dasi, you should worship her every day, offer arati every day, feed her every day, serve her every day, but never think to enjoy her. As soon as you think to enjoy her, then you are in Maya. So we see Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had children, Gorakshadass Babaji, Gogovinda Maharaj had children, and they did it only for dharma's sake. This is pure religiosity, and this is also brahmacharya. But through brahmacharya, then we can develop this willpower through which we can really surrender. So this is also like a stepping stone to surrender. When we are weak and we are not able to do that, then we have to start by crawling. Okay, we fall down again. We try to walk, we fall down again. It's very difficult in this age, especially in Kali Yuga. Bhagavatam also says, Kalir dosa nidhi rajan eko hi asti mahadguna kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha param bhajan. It's very difficult in Kali Yuga to be perfect brahmachari. It's almost impossible, especially in the modern age. Real brahmachari is of 8 kinds, not just one kind. In the mind, enjoying through the senses, through one's own endeavors, through with others. This is all losing our brahmacharya. But it's very difficult. So if we surrender to Guru and take shelter of Guru, Guru can gradually give us Shakti through which we can develop this willpower, and then we can become pure brahmacharis. But we see who are the best examples of brahmacharis and sannyasis. Brahmacharya is also a stepping stone to sannyas. Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, ultimately sannyas ashram. But who are the best examples of the sannyasis? The Braja Gopis. We see that in Katyayani Vrat. Through Katyayani Vrat, Prabhuji says this Katyayani Vrat mantra is the sannyas mantra, like one kind of sannyas mantra. Giving up everything, Katyayani Mahamai, take everything away from me. Then Mahayogini literally connect me in service to Krishna. Nanda Gopa Siddham Devi Patim Me Kurutenva. Make me only the object of Krishna's service. Make me a tool for Krishna's service. That's Sharanagati, that's sannyas. Mahaprabhu said, what is sannyas? I'm taking sannyas. He said, Sev Vrata Koilar, that Sevesh Koilar Brindavana Giya Mukunda Sevan Vrata Koilar Nidharan. That I've taken up a vow to serve Mukunda, and no matter how difficult the circumstances are, I will do that service. And Mahaprabhu further described what is this kind of loyalty, what is the highest like surrender that Mahaprabhu described. Ashlishava padaratang pinastumam adarshanam marmahatang kurotuva yatatata vidadatu lampato prana natastu sa evana paraha. This is a much higher level of Sharanagati than what we see with Draupadi. Even though Draupadi is a pure devotee also. One of her names is Krishna. She is so devoted to Krishna, she has so much love for Krishna. So she's a pure devotee. But there's also, it's giving us a lesson, how we can be serious and what is the level of the gopis. And so Mahaprabhu says, like Mahaprabhu came as Krishna trying to realize how I can become Sarva Dharman Prityaja, Mamekam Sharanam Braja. Mamekam Braja Devi like Sharanam or Radhika Sharanam. Mahaprabhu himself came and took shelter of the Braja Devis and Srimati Radhika. He himself did this Mamekam Sharanam Braja. He went to he embodied these moods of Braj and entered into this pure service mood. And what is that mood? Ashlishava padaratang pinastumam adarshanam marmahatang karotva yatartha vidadatu lampato mat prananata susevarana paraha. That I accept Krishna is lampat. Krishna can do whatever he likes. People criticize Krishna, he is a debauchee, he is a lampat, he is a cheater, he is crooked. But I don't care. He can be, like this is also surrender to Guru. Like what did Mahaprabhu say about Nityananda? When people were criticizing Nityananda, Mahaprabhu said, more Nityananda jadi sui bari jai tatapi amar Guru Nityananda rai. Even if my Nityananda is going and becoming a drunk or drinking in alcohol houses and going to prostitutes' houses, he is my Guru Nityananda. But is Nityananda doing that? He's not doing that. If he is even going to such a place, then he will deliver them. Like Jagai Madai. He's delivering them, but he has that power to go to that place. But it's showing his loyalty that even if people are criticizing, like there's no lacking of criticism of Srimati Radhika, even in Transcendental Braj. But the Manjaris don't think, oh, Radharani is not a good person to be with. Oh, everyone is criticizing Radharani, let me leave her. This is like the very weak disciple. Oh, as soon as someone starts criticizing Guru and Vaishnavas, oh, I surrender, I'll leave. That is material surrender. But none of them, they never leave Radhika. And with Krishna, even though, what did Krishna do? Like with the Brijabasis, like how much hardship he put them through. The Katyanivat example, how difficult it was, like to cross over this shyness, this shame, and to surrender it before Krishna. And then afterwards, in the Rasa Leela, Krishna again, the gopis came to him, and again he spoke very harshly with them. Why have you come here? I have not called you here. Why? You think I will enjoy with you like your husbands? Oh, go home at once. Then even after he met with them for a few moments, even though it was a long time, when you're meeting with Krishna, it passes like a moment. But then he disappeared for so long, and they suffered so much. And then even after all these pastimes, this Ras Leela was towards the end of his Braja Leela and Prakat Leela. So even after that, then Krishna left for 100 years. But the gopis never developed animosity towards Krishna. Even when Krishna took the form of a Saki or Gandharvika, he took the form of a heavenly damsel and like a musician and came to Radharani. This is the story of Prem Samput. And he started to criticize Krishna himself to Radharani. And Radharani was the most strong defender of Krishna, saying never criticize Krishna. If there's any fault, that is my fault. That is not Krishna's fault. So Radharani herself defended Krishna. So the point is that whether Krishna is good or bad, whatever it is, I have offered myself. Radha Paksha Chari, Jai Jan Sejan, Jai Bhavi Se Bhavi Taki, Amito Radhika Paksha Padi Sada Kabunahi Haritaki. That I am on her party, on her side. Whether anyone is against or not against, no matter how great they may be, whatever qualities they may have, I am Ekanishta. I have this one-pointed loyalty. Then when we develop this one-pointed loyalty, then we can also become pure brahmacharis. Because without that, it's like you're weak. Gurudev said, Guru Nishta is the backbone of bhakti. And when you get this backbone, it means you have spiritual strength. Then when you have this spiritual strength, then you'll have the power to pratikulya sivarjanam. Then you can give up what is unfavorable. Without shelter of Guru and Vaishnavas who are ashraya, it is said, Ashraya lui bhajat, tare Krishna nahi tyaje, arshab more akaran. That those who are under the shelter of Krishna, or under the shelter of the devotees, Ashraya lui bhaje, and who worship in that way, they will always be protected by Krishna. Otherwise, we'll just live and die without any positive gain. So, when we come under the shelter of pure Guru and Vaishnavas, and develop this loyalty in Guru Nishta and Bhakti, then we get the strength or the willpower through Brahmacharya that can make us properly be able to surrender, and then we can enter real Bhakti. We shouldn't think, oh, Sharanagati is very easy and cheap. It's very difficult to really surrender. Why? Because real surrender isn't like, this is the mundane conception. I surrender, I give up everything, now take care of me. I'm putting up my arms. Pruji likes to tell this joke. Oh God, give me a house. I'm your devotee. Oh God, now I'm hungry, make me some food. First bring the food. Oh God, put it on my plate. And oh God, put it in my mouth. And oh God, help me pass it out. And oh God, now clean my bathroom. This is what mundane people think surrender. So oh, you should do everything for me and I don't want to do anything. And Gurudev said, what is that? That is the animal philosophy. Gurudev said, such people are two-legged animals who don't want to take up responsibility for service. So first we surrender to Guru and Vaishnavas. What did Lochan Das Thakur say? Jai deshe nitai nai, se deshe na jabo, nitai vumuke jar, mukha na hiribo. That wherever Nitai is not present, wherever my Guru is not present, I won't go there. And whoever is opposed to my Nityananda, I will not look at their face. So we develop this loyalty, this Guru Nishta, then we can progress further one step, then we can develop this willpower and strength from Guru Shakti. Ekaki amar nahi paye bal harinama sankirtan. Alone I cannot do sankirtan. I have to be in satsanga. And for satsanga means there's Sadguru. Then there's satsanga. Without Sadguru, without some expansion of Baladev and Nityananda, but without pure Guru, and satsanga means all these devotees are together under the shelter of Juteshwari, a Jutpati, a leader. Who is the leader? The pure leader is Sadguru. And everyone in that satsanga is under the shelter of Sadguru, and then they are protected. We see in Ram Leela, many sages were killed by the Rakshasas. And they made mountains of Brahmin threads and mountains of bones from them. But those were all the people who are doing their bhajan independently without shelter of a pure Guru. And all those who were under the ashrams of the pure gurus, they were completely protected. The demons could not touch them. So this is the power of Sadguru. So we need to take shelter of Sadguru. Then Sharanagati, Anukulyasa Sankalpa Pratikulyasa. Then we'll have the power to do these things. But then, that's not it. Rakshishititi Vishwas, we have the faith that God will protect us. Gopitve Varanangtata, we accept Him as our protector, our maintainer, our guardian. Atmanikshepa Karpanya, we surrender ourselves. And we are humble. Otherwise, we may become very proud. But pride is the cause of our downfall. We see, I want to touch on a few biblical stories, right? Because today is Christmas. So we see, the pride is the cause of downfall. And what is the example of that? We see, even in the biblical stories, what is the origin of the troubles in this world? We see that Lucifer fell down from heaven because of his pride. He wanted to be equal to God. He thought, I can do a better job. Why should I be His servant? So the danger is when we get this strength and willpower and we become very powerful, that power is coming from God. But then we think, I can become better. Kichinuki Honu. Puriji says, oh, where was I? Where am I now? And then we think, now I'm the tiger, now I'll eat Guru. And then again you become a mouse, then you fall down. So we see that in the Bible, that Lucifer and Christ are described like the left and right hand of God. But the danger is that, and Lucifer is actually the elder brother. In a higher position. The elder brother has the higher position in Dharma, that the younger brother always serves the elder brother. Lakshman serves Ram. So Lucifer was like the elder. But he was the archangel. But then he became like a little bit antagonistic. And because of his pride and false ego, he wanted to start challenging God. And then he led a whole rebellion. What happens when we start turning against Guru and Vaishnavas? Then we start to make our own party against them. Because we know, alone I'm very weak. I cannot defeat them alone. So then we go and start whispering in people's ears, join my party, and this person is bogus, and let's lead a revolt against them. So he tried to lead a revolt with many other angels against God, and then ultimately he was defeated in the battle, and then he fell down, and then he said then even when he was in hell, he said, better to be a king in hell than a servant in heaven. That's the idea of the demons. I will not serve God no matter what. I am His mortal enemy. We see Hiranyakashipu, Ravan, they're all examples of this. Even though they know how powerful he is, they say, I would rather give up my life than surrender to him. So this is on one hand, we see like the example of Lucifer. But on the other hand, we see the example of Christ. And how is Christ fully surrendered? Gurudev talked about this on Christmas in Hawaii once. He talked about this. He said the story that Gurudev talked about this. He said, what is the story of Christ? The basic story in a few minutes. We see. Like when mundane people talk about great personalities, they talk about it from a mundane perspective. He took birth here, he did this, he went there, he did that, then he died. Atheists talk like that. But when we talk about Guru Vaishnavas, we say, like pure devotees, they came by the will of God, and they did these services through their surrender, and then they went back to God. They went back to Godhead. Like, that's the basic storyline. So he was given this mission, like Shaktavesh Avatar, he was given this mission to do this service. This is also like an example, analogy for us to follow. But it's the example of real Sharanagati, that we're taking up the heaviest burden of responsibility for the service of our Guru without any pride. And that's the perfect example of that is Prabhuji actually. Because when Gurudev went to Prabhuji's house every year, what did he talk about? Every year Gurudev would go, Prabhuji would never go back. But every year in Navadvip, Gurudev, when they went to Champakhata in that area, then Gurudev would go to his house and he would talk to the devotees. And he would say, he told the story of Prabhuji, how he came to him. And then he would tell the story of, like, what is so special about him. And we can watch this audio, we can hear it. And devotees were there, not only 1 year, every year, and he would tell wonderful things. But this particular year that we have the audio for, Gurudev said that, how is he surrendered? Do you know? How is he surrendered? Not like others, he said. Taking all responsibility. That's Sharanagati. Sharanagati is, now I am Kailash. Now I give up everything, now God, take care of me. That's not Sharanagati. That's a very lower grade of kindergarten grade. Like a baby cannot do anything, so the mother feeds the baby, clothes the baby, cleans the baby's diaper. So, okay, you're on the very ground floor level, but really you should try to grow up and serve Guru. To that degree that you take responsibility for the service of Sri Guru. And what is the service of Sri Guru? How do you serve Krishna Bhagavan according to what is Krishna's desire? Then to that degree you're Sharanagat. And Gurudev says this very clearly in like one paragraph. Gurudev lays out the essence. He said, how is he surrendered? How is he Sharanagat? Taking all responsibility on his head. That is Sharanagati. He said he is taking care of all the different mats, all the devotees, without giving me any worry. Like in Navadvip, when he made the Navadvip Shishikesha Jigodiya Mat. He bought a separate property for Gurudev nearby, and it was like a nice 2-3 story building Prabhuji made. And Gurudev would stay there, and Gurudev would say, when Prabhuji would go, he would talk, like Prabhuji would go for massage, morning and afternoon and evening. And Gurudev would say, oh, now I have no tension. I cannot hear all the loud noise. I have nothing to worry about because I know you're taking care of everything. So this means Sharanagati, that we are completely offering ourselves in service. Surrendering to service, that is Sharanagati. And to do that, we have to take up difficulty, that God will test us. So when we take this vow of service, which is real surrender, when we take that vow of service, then so many tests will come to us. As long as we are like bogus person in Maya, then it won't be like, okay, as everyone else is going along, we'll also go along. Some difficulties will come, but that's not Bhakti Anukul. When we are Sharanagat, then the difficulties that come to us are Bhakti Anukul, favorable to our devotional service. Because they are a test that helps us become more and more focused and surrendered and dedicated. And Krishna is seeing our level of Sharanagati and the level that we are taking up responsibilities. He'll give us more responsibility, and ultimately, what is the highest responsibility? What responsibility do we want? That responsibility to serve Srimati Radhika, you think that is a small responsibility? How are the mandris are serving? That they are called kinkaris. Kinkari means at every moment they have this mood, what should I do now? What should I do now? What should I do now? At every moment they're active. Kinkari means king, what? Kari, to do. Their very name means what to do, what to do. What is my seva? How can I serve? And they're always like this in their service. That means they're the highest Sharanagat, most surrendered. Prabhuji also talks about Yashoda Mata. He says Yashoda Mata is so surrendered. Why? She doesn't say, Krishna, now you do everything. Nanda and Yashoda take all responsibility for the Brijabasis. Not only does she feed Krishna, she feeds everyone. Every day in Nanda Bhavan, they're feeding hundreds of thousands, millions. How much responsibility that takes? People who just eat and sleep, they don't know what is the difficulty when you have to cook for everyone. Prabhuji is doing this. What Prabhuji is doing every day, people will plan about for a whole year to do one day. What Prabhuji is doing every day here, people will plan about for a whole year and collect for a whole year to do one day. We see people do festivals, like every day we're feeding 500-600 people. People will do festivals of this, like this, for a few days. And the whole year they'll plan about it. Oh, who will clean who will do this, who will clean the pots, who will clean the floor, who will cook, who will maintain everything. Oh, how will we do it? We become hopeless. But when you become empowered through this brahmacharya, through Guru Seva, through Sharanagati, then it's like, it's going on like just very easily. And Prabhuji says, then we understand we are not doing this. In Guru Darshan, there's a story that once the devotees came to Gurudev, and how is everything going on? He said, Param Gurudev is doing everything. Like in a train, there's the engine, and the engine is pulling all the other cars. If the cars think, oh, I can pull myself, and then you detach yourself from the engine, and then you try to go along the tracks, you cannot do it. So as long as you're connected, then everything will go on. So even though it seems externally like very difficult labor, still, because you're connected to Guru Shakti, then everything goes along very easily. The more you're connected you are. You see, Prabhuji is like, he's not only cooking, but like morning time, getting up every day, 2 a.m., going on Prikrama, then cooking, then doing mala, and talking to people, and giving Harikatha, nourishing everyone, doing all his bhajan. That is the symptom of Vishnanagati. So Gurudev said, he is really surrendered because he is taking all responsibility. Not like, he said, if you are not taking this responsibility for Guru Seva, then you are like an animal. Gurudev said, like a donkey. No horns, no tails, but like an animal. Why? No responsibility. And Gurudev said, a person who has no responsibility, like, they cannot really develop in bhakti. So we see that. That's a wonderful example. And also so we take responsibility. Then when we take this responsibility and we do surrender and do service, then what happens? Many problems come. Many problems come. This is Krishna's test. And Krishna tests the sincerity of the devotee. You really want to come to me? Okay, now you're a Sharanagat. Now you've entered into bhakti. Now I will have to start testing you. Krishna says, Prabhuji likes to say this verse, Je kare amaras, tar hoy sarvanas. Which means in Bengali, that person who wants to come to me, I destroy everything they have. Yasyaham anugrahami harisyeta dhanam sanai. That someone wants to take shelter of me and come to me, then I steal away everything they possess. Swami Prabhupada would say this verse to Gurudev that, oh, I don't know if I should take sannyas. So I've read this verse again and again. Yasyaham anugrahami harisyeta dhanam sanai. That person who surrenders to me, I'd steal away everything from them. Surrender. That means they've done so much already. They've really sharnagat. They're following this pure sharnagati. They're taking a responsibility. They're doing service. Then all the waves of problems start to come. Because ordinary people, we would think these problems are our enemies. These problems are causing us disturbance. What is it said? Why that there's in Param Gurudev's, or I think it's in this, one of these recent books we've published, there's a quote, maybe Madhurya Kadambini, and they say, oh, why do we have like hatred or a disturbance or malice or towards others or towards anything? Why? Oh, whenever there's an obstacle in the pathway to gain our sense gratification, whenever there's an obstacle in our rag, like we have rag and dvesh, attachment and aversion, whenever there's an obstacle in that, then we become opposed to that obstacle and we become angry towards that obstacle and we start to hate it. That's in the material sense. But even in spiritual life, when we become surrendered, Sharanagat, then many obstacles come. And people would think, oh, these obstacles are unfavorable to bhakti. Oh, all these disturbances have come to me. Oh, you know, I've become sick. Oh, people have criticized me so much. Everyone is speaking bad about me. And so many things are going wrong. You know, like you try to cook, the fire won't start. You try to light the wood on fire, it's all wet. You know, we can see, for cooking in Kartik for like 30, 40 years, how much difficulty Prabhuji went through. We cannot even imagine. Collecting everything, doing everything at his own strength. They said that before, in Mathura, when they didn't have any money, like we can imagine in the 50s. Later Prabhuji came in the 70s. Okay, still at that time, and how, also Gurudev is a great example. How much austerity Gurudev went through. How much austerity Param Gurudev went through. That even though Param Gurudev was such a high landowner family, what did Param Gurudev do? It's like, he spent 8 hours a day begging in the street for 1 paisa from every person and giving them a magazine or this patrika. And they would have a box, a wooden box with a slot for only 1 paisa. Prabhupada said, I don't want you to collect a lot. Take 1 paisa from everyone, then everyone will get sukriti and you won't become greedy. When Prabhuji was doing Bhiksha in Mathura, at first Gurudev would not let them. Some people would say, oh, it's the cold winter now. Every day you're coming out barefoot. It's so cold, foggy. Take 500 kilos of rice and 500 kilos of atta one time and you don't have to come out every day. Now we're going every Dwadasi. Before they'd go every day. How to maintain the mat? It's not like now when we had a more easy situation, more support. Gurudev would, and Gurudev also, and we see with Prabhuji, later in the summertime it was so hot. This is like a struggle. Oh, in the hot summertime, they would walk barefoot to do Bhiksha. Where did they get shoes? Money for shoes. And Gurudev would say, don't go and drink water from any grahasta. Then Maya will come and take you. Don't take any fruit or lassi or anything. Then Maya will attack you. And people would say, oh, this poor brahmachari, you know, they're walking out every day in the hot sun to collect a few kilos of rice. And they're only taking a little bit from everyone. Take as much as you need for a whole month and I'll come and deliver it to your house the next month also, to your temple. Gurudev said, never. He said if they bring it, and they would bring, people would bring, and they'd fill up the storerooms with rice, dal, everything, and Gurudev would say, take it and distribute it to the other temples, like Dwarkadish. Gurudev would give it away. Why? Then you'll become lazy. Laziness is very close to tamagun. It's tamagun, basically. And if we're in tamagun, that means inert, then we're in maya. So we don't want to be lazy. That's not sharanagati, that's not seva. So many problems will come in our life. And we see that. But how much we're willing to accept these external problems as our friends rather than our adversaries. That yes, we have to struggle. But in that struggle, that is the struggle that is like the fire that will make us strong and pure. Like if you want to make like gold pure, you have to put it in the fire and burn it with such a hot fire that all the other contaminations will melt and flow out. Or like a sword, you want to make a sword strong, you put it in the furnace and you beat it with a hammer. It's not enough that you put it in the fire. It's like you'd think it'd be bad enough to be in the fire all the time, to become like strong like that. But you put it in the fire, then you pull it out, then you beat it. Then you put it in the fire, then you pull it out, then you beat it. Then you put it in the fire, then you pull it out, then you beat it. Then you can become pakka. And this is what we see. If you really want to follow sadhana and bhakti, then these problems will come in your life. Krishna says, Jai kare amaras tar hoy sarvanas. I will destroy everything they possess. What do we possess? Not just our possessions, not just our friends and family, our own health. our own sanity practically. We can become, so Krishna will take away everything. Will make us like a mad beggar in the street. But then if we're still not going to give him up, Tabina Chari Amara, still they don't want to give up their desire to come for me, then Tarhoi Kabo Vanargas, then I make them like a cow. They have to beg around in the street and eat like a cow. What does a cow do in Braj? Like a Braj cow who is... Actually, Gorkhadas Babaji Maharaj said many people wanted to give Gorkhadas Babaji Maharaj a place to live. It's in his biography we're soon going to publish. And they say, oh, Gorkhadas Babaji Maharaj will make you a nice place and we'll give you all types of nice prasad and whatever you want. We won't disturb you, we'll let you do your bhajan. He said, better than being a paltu guy means like a domesticated animal. Better than being someone who's like kept in someone else's like custody. Like someone else is the custodian. It's better to be a vicharanshil sar. Sar means like a wandering bull. Gorkhadas Babaji Maharaj said, I'll never become a paltu guy. Paltu guy means like a pet cat or a pet dog. A pet dog especially. It's like, they don't have to think about anything. They just sleep and the householder gives them food and they don't have to worry about anything. He said, better than being a paltu guy, I'll become a wandering bull. Then I won't be like indebted to it. I won't be under anyone's like subordination, only under the service of God. So Krishna says like that. Tavarna Chari Amara, still if they don't want to give up their attachment or the desire to come to me, then I'll make them like a wandering animal. And they have to eat like we see sadhus. And Radharani also talks about this in Brahmar Geet. She says, we see many people, Krishna, what is your nature, Krishna? That people want to have love and affection and relation with you, and you make them like beggars, mendicants in the street. And they are wandering here and there, experiencing the greatest difficulties. And like, hungry and starving and still experiencing difficulty. Why don't you nourish them and help them? But this is Krishna's way to help us progress. And the real devotee doesn't care about this. We see the real devotees. There are many stories in the Shastra about this, but it would take a long time. But there's so many stories about this. That how Krishna does this with the devotees. And the devotees don't care. The devotees are happy. The devotees don't want the material opulence. And they accept this so-called adversity and difficulty as Krishna's blessing. Because through this, and also it's like, even if we're thinking, okay, these problems are coming, problems for myself, they're not real problems. The gopis say that Nadgani apana duk sabi vancha tar suk amar tat bariya. More dari dila duk tar hoy mahasuk say suk mora suk say duk mora suka bariya. If you want to give me distress, and by that you are happy, then that distress for me is my greatest happiness. Tar suk amar tat bariya. Pleasing you is my only purpose. So the devotees aren't concerned about their material condition. But even if problems come in the path of service, we don't give up our service. And instead we develop further and further attachment to service and desire to do service. So we see this in many histories. We see this specifically in this history of, I want to talk about Jesus, right? What did he was born, okay, and he was like a young boy. And there are many stories in the Gospels. Much of his childhood pastimes are not included. Why? When they edited the King James Bible, they made the official Bible. Before that, there were many Gospels. Dozens of Gospels. But how many? A dozen. Isn't that the Apostle? Anyhow, like the Gospel of Thomas and many other ones. Some of them talk about reincarnation. Some of them talk about vegetarianism. But they hid these away. We won't get into these stories. Over time, Krishna says, Evam param praptam imangrajar sakalane anata yoga nasta parampara. Through the disciplic succession, things get contorted and convoluted and spoiled. Okay? So we won't talk about that. But anyhow, many of his childhood pastimes are not included. Pretty much nothing is there. They've hidden that. They talk about his nativity, about the three wise men, and then they talk about how immediately, like they start his preaching, his Acharya Lila. But what is his Balya Lila? It's also very sweet. What is his Kaishor Lila? That's very sweet. But they hide that. Why? Because there's a mystery there that if they were to reveal that to everyone, then it would like shake the foundations of their religion. Because everyone would start joining another party. This is the mundane religiosity, is everyone should be in my party and all the other parties are bad. And you see, in Christianity, there's so many different branches and they're all fighting with one another. Oh, you're a Christian? Oh, you're saved. Oh, which branch of Christianity? Oh, you're a Protestant? Oh, you're damned. And the Protestants say, oh, you're a Catholic, oh, you're damned. Oh, you're a Lutheran, oh, you're damned. Oh, you're a Baptist. Like, this is all the divisions they've created. But they've hidden this real history of Jesus. And Gurudev himself said, who's our authority? Gurudev is our authority. And there's been many books that have written this about even like the burial place of Mother Mary up in like the Nepal region. And there's shrines there to her. And there's many histories they've given about how, when he was a young man, he went to India to do his sadhan bhajan. It's said, we don't know about his life from the time he was a boy until he was like in his 30s already. So where was he for those 20 years? Gurudev said he was in India. He went to India and he studied under the sages, he studied under the sadhus. And he went to Jagannath Puri, he went to many other places. And from Krishna became Christos. It said also, like in Puri they don't say Krishna, they say like Krishna. But there's a very close similarity between these two. But anyhow, Gurudev said he was there in India, and then he came back and he began to preach, because he also saw that according to people's adhikar, you have to preach. You cannot preach above their adhikar. Like, we can go and like, okay, I'll go and preach in a pub about Manjari Bhavupasana. You know, we can imagine, or like to a bunch of like truck drivers, you know, in America, like a bunch of rednecks truck drivers, and they're all like drunk and like, you know, or like we can go to like a strip bar and preach about Manjari Bhavupasana. You know, are they going to understand this or accept it? You have to preach according to the adhikar. And we can, 2,000 years ago in these countries that Jesus was preaching, it was like people didn't have very high adhikar. Most people were like living with great difficulty under some imperial rule, like, you know, of some empire, and they were struggling just to maintain their lives, and so many hardships. Before, it's like now we have so many nice facilities. It's also not people's fault. We have so many nice facilities now, just like pass stool and, you know, like so much facility is there to do this. But before, what is the facility? We can hear like stories of even London before. It's like simple facilities we have now. It is said the mortality rate of infants was so high, and people had to struggle so much, and they didn't have any great knowledge. So Jesus taught them these basic commandments, and he taught them to love God. He taught them to be good to each other. He taught them like the golden rule: do unto others as you would do unto yourselves. He taught them very good teachings, and also like each acharya will have to teach something to bring people a level up. You cannot make someone jump from kindergarten to the PhD level. So he was bringing them one level up, and before that we hear many stories how he went into the churches and he overturned the money tables because people were making a business out of religion. And he did many things that people became against him for, because this was his seva, his dharma, and because of this many people became against him. But he was so sharanagat, he took up this responsibility to serve so much that even though he was willing to sacrifice, like ultimately God called for the greatest sacrifice, the greatest sharanagati: give up your own life for my service. This is what, like we see what happened, is that he was ready to give up his own life for the service of his Lord. And that's why we see he was ultimately, for his preaching, he was crucified. And this is real sharanagati. We're ready to surrender to the point of crucifixion. Means, what did he have? He had to carry this cross. This is like, and he had to, even when he was beaten and hobbled, he had to carry it up the hill. His own cross he had to carry. And then they put it up and they tied him to it. And he was ready to take that. That was such was his sharanagati. And only because of his service he had to suffer like this. People said like, okay, you can, why are you accepting these hardships? You just tell them what they want to hear. But he will never go against his dharma and against truth. He could have easily just said, okay, this is what you want to hear, you want me to say this? Okay, now you won't kill me? Okay, fine. But he was ready to give up his life by the will of his master, and he was ready to accept that suffering. And Moridari Dila Dukta, like even if you are happy through my suffering, I'm ready to accept that. That is my happiness. So this is one example for us. Gurudev would talk about this. Gurudev talked about how he went to India and how he was like serving God. And so it's like it can be favorable for us to harmonize with other religions, to develop these ideas and to hear about them. And Gurudev, actually Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that in his childhood he was actually quite interested in Christianity. He studied the Quran, he studied the Bible, he studied many different sastras. Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about that. That for his Leela sake, well, he wasn't born as like a Gaudiya Vaishnav. This is for the sake of pastimes. Ultimately he's Kamal Manjari. But he wasn't born for the sake of pastimes. He wasn't born like a Gaudiya Vaishnav. And he studied all these different faiths. And he said, I was quite interested in Christianity, in this like level of the surrender they have, and how much they're like willing to accept, like the whole basis of this Christian religion. The main thing is like accepting suffering for the sake of serving God. And we see Christians to this day, they're willing to be killed but they won't give up their faith. They're very powerful in their faith. And people like to criticize this, like, oh, look how stubborn they are in their faith. But this loyalty is a very beautiful thing. So we'll just conclude very quickly that 8:30, 5-10 minutes. So Gurudev would say we should try to adopt these ideals of take responsibility for your life. He said, Gurudev said in this, in Champahat, he said, take responsibility for your life. And what is that responsibility? Well, how can my Gurudev be happy? How can I serve my Gurudev? How can my Gurudev be pleased? And for that, I'm willing to give up everything, only to please my Gurudev. We see that. The gopis, what is the great example of Sharanagati? The gopis that Krishna was sick in Dwarka, right? And Krishna said, oh, everyone was saying, how can he become better? He has such a high fever. They said, only if I get the dust of my devotees. And Narad went everywhere and asked everyone, and said, oh, if I give him my dust, I'll go to hell. That's such a great offense. Then finally he went to Braj. The gopis said, yeah, take it. And they started collecting their dust and making big bags full, packets full in cloth and giving it. He said, aren't you worried that you'll go to hell? Yeah, whatever. Meaning, yes, we accept this, that, oh, if we give our foot dust, this is like, oh, you say he is like God. If we give our foot dust to God, that's not proper. It's like a sin. We'll go to hell for that. But what do we care? Krishna is asking for this. Krishna needs this. We're ready to give up that for him. That is Sharanagati. We see another example of Sharanagati is Prahlad Maharaj. How is Prahlad Maharaj Sharanagat? Even when all these hardships came to him, Hiranyakashipu just told him, like, give up Vishnu and you'll be the king of the universe. Hiranyakashipu was the king of the universe at that time, and Prahlad was his son, his only eldest son. He would become the king of the universe. But all he had to do was give up Vishnu, give up God and give up God's service. He said, oh, you should go to my gurus and learn from them, learn all these bogus philosophies, learn about dharma, artha, kama, moksha, but don't do any bhakti. Vishnu is our enemy. And he said, no, I only speak the truth. Shravanam kirtanam Vishnu smaranam pada sevan archana vandana rasya sakyamatmani vetanam iti pungsarpida Vishnu bhaktischan nevalakshana krita bhagavatidatan manyaditam uttamam. I consider that learning the highest learning through which we're always serving Sri Vishnu. He used this word Vishnu in both verses. Iti pungsarpida Vishnu, to Vishnu, and he knew Vishnu is his father's greatest enemy. And he said, oh, we should hear about him, speak about him, remember him, serve him, pray to him, offer obeisance to him. Then his father became so angry. Bhaktivinoda said how much love a father has for his young boy, especially a king, because a king needs his prince to become the next king. And so he'll deal with him with so much love and affection. But then he became like this, then he became against him completely. And Prahlad was willing to accept that. And then he tried to kill him in all different ways. But he was never complained, oh Vishnu, why are you making me suffer like this? Oh Krishna. Also he was a devotee of Krishna. Why he says, Matirna Krishne parato svutova. Mito pipadyate. People think he was a devotee of Nrsingadev. Nrsingadev appeared in one form as a half man, half lion to protect him. And so in one way he is his Ishwar. But in his prayers in the Bhagavatam, he doesn't use the name Nrsingadev. Later Nrsingadev's name is given. But when he is teaching the students, and when he is talking to Hiranyakashipu, when Sanda and Marka come and Hiranyakashipu says, did you teach him this? Oh, do bhakti to Vishnu. Then he said, Prahlad said, they taught me. He said they are just like Sanda and Marka, a bull and a monkey, very lusty and very stupid. You know? They never taught me this. He said, Matirna Krishna Bharata Satova. Those who don't have absorption in Krishna, they can never be changed by the counsel of others, or they cannot learn these things. They're like chewing the chewed, and they are blind men leading other blind men. So they have not taught me. So he was a devotee of Krishna, and he accepted all these external difficulties without any oh, why is he making this happen to me? And he was always absorbing Krishna, and then he was always protected. So, just in summary, this is what we want to try to understand what is real Sharanagati and how we can progress towards that Sharanagati. And that's what we see in these pastimes. And we shouldn't be worried also. If we are Sharanagat, it's said life passes ultimately very quickly. This human life, especially in Kali Yuga, is not so long. In the beginning of the Bhagavatam, the rishis ask about this, and they said, oh, look, life is short, we are foolish, it's not easy to control our senses, and we quarrel with others. We have many bad qualities in this age. But we shouldn't worry about that. Why? Because, okay, like I can't become perfect brahmachari. Oh, I can't become fully surrendered. But you try to reach the first step, then you can go to the second step. Don't try to think I have to jump to the fifth stair. You can tell anyone, like go to the bottom of the stairway here and say jump from the bottom all the way to the top. Who's going to be able to do it? Okay, jump from the bottom all the way to the stage of like Gopi Bhav. Cross over all the other stages without going through the different progressions. What does it mean to step, even to walk upstairs? It takes effort. It takes strength. But to jump all the way up is not possible. So we put up our foot to the first step, lift our other foot up to the next step, and then go one step at a time. So the first step, what is the first step? Like even if we can't become like brahmacharya vrata, that means like the gopis are perfect brahmachari sannyasi. They're only serving Krishna. And they are so detached from their bodies that anything can happen to them, but they're not disturbed. They don't identify with the body, so they're not disturbed if harm comes to the body. Then you can be real brahmachari. As long as you're attached to this body, you can't be real brahmachari. As long as you think, I am this body, and with this body I'll be a brahmachari, it's not possible. But you surrender this body to Krishna, you give up this material false identification with the body, realize I am Atma, and my dharma is to serve Krishna, and then established in the Atma dharma, you can progress. But even that is a very difficult stage. So what is the first stage? Guru Padashray. Really take shelter. Ashray means shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Guru. Who is the lotus feet of Sri Guru? And the dust of Sri Guru, all the Vaishnavas. Take shelter of Vaishnavas, take shelter of Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, and serve them. What are the three things? Swajati Ashray Snigdha Sadhu Sangha Sato Vrde. Take shelter of Sadhu Sangha, that is Ashray, giving you shelter, Snigdha, which is affectionate to you, and which is Swajatiya, of your similar mood, and also superior to you. And under the shelter of Sadguru, Yuteshwari. In Braj, everything is according to, like, which party are you from? Which group are you in? When Mahadev tried to go to Braj, even though he got the body of a gopi, and he was watching the Ras Leela, then the gopis came to him and started punching his cheeks and pulling his ears and saying, oh gopi, you are a strange gopi, I can still see your 5 o'clock shadow. Means you're not completely a gopi yet. Why? They said, which family are you from? Who is your husband? Who is your mother, father? What is your name? Which village are you from? Which group are you in? So we have to have this loyalty if we want to enter Braj. And that is, like we see, what is the story given? That, like this example that we see in Braj, everyone is in these like spiritual groups. So if that's like the first step we can do. We can find and we have to pray to God for this. When we really want to follow bhakti and become freed of our material entanglements and our material suffering, then we pray to God, oh God, please show me real guru. Help me find real guru. And as much as we sincerely pray, that much we'll find a pure guru. If we are cheaters ourselves, we'll be cheated. Or maybe we're not cheaters, but we have to have some test of finding a false guru that we have to cross through that stage and to come to real guru. And then when we find real guru, then we have to come under shelter of sadhus, also by Krishna's mercy. It said by Krishna's mercy we find guru, by Guru's mercy we find Krishna. That's why Brahmanda Brahmite Kon Bhagavanache, Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Beach. Not Guru Prasade Bhai and not Krishna Prasade Bhai. Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Beach. We get this creeper of devotion by Krishna's mercy, by Guru's mercy together. By Krishna's mercy we come to Guru, by Guru's mercy we come to Krishna. So then we come in Sadhu Sangha. And once we're in Sadhu Sangha, then we can follow the next step. Once we're in Sadhu Sangha, then we can develop towards Sharanagati. We can really be Sharanagat, Guru Padashray. Then we can learn about Bhakti Shiksha Prikshanam. Then we can start learning, and then we can follow like real Brahmacharya. Because then we'll get Guru's mercy. And Narottam Das Thakur says, what is the evidence of this? Like again, we can't jump to the high step without following the low step. First we step up one at a time. So once we are under Guru Padashray and Vaishnava Padashray, then the next step is like this. To Vacha Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegudara Pasta Vegam. Then we follow Upadeshamrita. Some people would say, this is another evidence of this, that in the mat before, some people would say, oh, you all these lusty people coming, they haven't controlled their senses, they haven't followed the 6 Vegs, they haven't controlled the 6 Vegs, why are they in the mat? Guru, they've kicked them out. They say, what is this? You have no mercy? This is a hospital. People come into the hospital as patients. They're not cured. Once you're cured, then you come into the hospital. Come into the hospital, then get cured. But coming into the hospital means coming into that family where that pure doctor is present, that sadhu who is the bhava rog asad. He has that medicine which can free you from the material disease. Like Purity said last night, Nivrittatar Sherupagiya Mana Bhavo Shrota Manobiraman Ka Uttama Sloka Gunanuvadat Puman Vede Jeta Bivapanu Shugnat. Take shelter of such a guru, such a doctor who has that medicine which will free you from the material disease. And they only have that if they are Nivrittatar Sher, if they are free of material disease themselves. So take shelter of such a guru. Once you're in shelter of such a guru and Vaishnav and serving them, then Kam, krodh, kiba korite pari jadi hoy sadhu janar sangha. Narottam Das Thakur says, with like great conviction, Kam, krodh, kiba korite pari jadi hoy sadhu janar sangha. What can lust, anger and all these urges do to you if you are in sadhu sangha? Like a snake whose venom has been taken out. Even if it tries to bite something, it will not be able to poison it, give it venom. So this is like us, when we are first in sadhu sangha, we're not able to fully control our senses. Guru is merciful. We come into the hospital as a patient, but then we start taking the treatment. Then we can go to the next step, and then Guru and Vaishnavas take out our fangs. But still, like Aghasur, like Putana, still we have these material coverings. And so Krishna has to liberate us from these also. That's also Katyayani Vrat, that Krishna is removing all these external coverings. We may be a snake, we may be like Putana, we may be like Bakasura, Aghasura, like Trinavarta, Vatsasura, Pralambasura. All these demons are... Why are all the demons described in the Bhagavatam? Because we have demonic tendencies, and we need to learn how to defeat these demonic tendencies by Krishna's mercy. Each of these demons represents like an anartha. So we have to try to cross over these anarthas. But when we come, we haven't crossed over, but we take shelter of Guru and Vaishnavas, and then they take out our fangs gradually. And then, like Trivikram Maharaj would say, Gurudev would say, like a fan may be running very fast. Like we have the fan like this, or we have like an engine, like a propeller jet fan or something like that. When you turn it off, it starts to slow down gradually. But in 1 second, it doesn't stop. If you try to stop it in 1 second, it'll break. We can't stop this in 1 second. So when Guru and Vaishnavas pull the plug of our Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Mad, Matsarya, and all these things, and then gradually we start progressing. But we should be, therefore, Utsahanishta Dharya Tat Karma Pavartan. Therefore, we have to have this Dharya, patience, fortitude, Utsaha, enthusiasm, Nishta, firm faith and conviction. Then Tat Karma Pavartanat, follow all our services. Tat Karma Pavartanat, be inclined to doing all our services. Sangha Tyaga Satovrite, follow Sadhu Sangha, give up bad association, Asat Sangha. Then Sadbir Bhakti Prasiddhiti. Then you can progress in your bhakti, otherwise it's not possible. So we have to try to follow this process. And it's a very gradual process. We don't have to worry. But we just try to follow what stage we're on now. Try to identify which stage we're on now and try to follow that stage. And then one after another, our mother will lead us by the hand and we'll be able to progress forward. So thank you for your time. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpadrupasya kripa sindhubhyo cha pitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.